Yume Nikki begins in a small room, and the room is the first piece of evidence. There's a bed, a desk with a diary, a television, a games console, a balcony door. The room is rendered in the tile-based low-color idiom of RPG Maker 2003. And it contains almost nothing that responds. The television shows a test pattern, the console runs a single game, the diary saves, but its contents are never shown. The apartment door is the only conventional exit, and it does not open. Approaching it, the girl shakes her head. Her drowsy expression unchanged, refusing to pull the handle. No text explains this, no event in the game changes it. What remains is the balcony and the bed. The balcony overlooks a view that never varies. The bed initiates the game. Whatever is behind her bedroom door, she doesn't want you to know. But in her dreams, she opens that door. The room establishes the terms before any dream begins. Movement is possible but confined. Objects exist but do not answer. The one consequential action is sleep, and it is available immediately and repeatedly. Everything the game contains lies on the other side of it. The player character is named Madotsuki, and unlike nearly everything else in this game, the name is canonical in the strictest sense. It appears in-game in the menu beside the character. It exists partly because RPG Maker requires a name for the menu screen. The name written literally means windowed, and it is not a word used as a personal name in Japan. Its relationship to the balcony, the only view out of an apartment she will not leave, is available to any player without being asserted by anything in the game. She does not speak, there is no internal monologue, and the diary of the title is never opened for the player to read. What the game establishes about her is entirely behavioral. She sleeps, she dreams, she will not go out, and she can wake herself at any moment by pitching her cheek. Ensuring the player always has a way out of the dream world. That mechanic is the closest thing to a characterizing fact the game offers. Whatever the dreams contain, she retains the ability to end them. Yume Nikki was made by one person, and almost nothing about that person is established. Kikiyama is a pseudonymous Japanese developer. The game was built in RPG Maker 2003 and distributed as a freeware on Kikiyama's personal website from June 2004, with updates continuing until October of 2007. The documented version history runs from version 0.00, 26 June 2004, through version 0.10, completed 17th September 2007, and released 1st of October 2007. A bug fix patch followed on the 6th of October. Kikiyama built version 0.10a the same day to incorporate the fixes. But the download link on their own website was never replaced to host it. 0.10a's distribution was left to Playism, which uploaded it on 10th of February 2012. Kikiyama's own description of the game survives on that website. and it is the closest thing to a design statement in existence. A game where you walk around a world inside a dream with a very dark atmosphere, no particular story or objective. Simply a game about walking around. In the only interview Kikiyama has ever given, it was established that they had never made a traditional RPG in the engine before Yume Nikki, and that they often drew creatures and scenes in the game's style before making it. The game is a first work by someone new to the engine, assembled from an existing private sketchbook. It was also, by its author's account, not considered complete. Asked whether they thought 0.10a version was the final, the answer was no. The game gained a global cult following through an English fan translation and was published on Steam by Playism in 2018. In promotion of the Dream Diary reboot, released the same year. Yume Nikki withholds nearly every device by which games communicate, and it does so more completely than almost any game before or since. It was built without a traditional plot or battle system. Gameplay is exploration of the dream world. There is no dialogue at all. No objective is stated. The ending's existence is only alluded to by the instructions item, which says the player can get rid of the effects in the Room of Doors with no indication of what this is for. That item is also nearly the only in-game text that refers to any location. Nothing else in the game is named on screen. No maps exist in a game whose dream worlds connect through a hub of doors and sprawl for hours. The player moves through two-dimensional fields, examining objects, though few provide any response. The one structural system is collection, 24 effects found through exploration, which change Madotsuki's appearance and equipment. They are not keys to puzzles because there are no puzzles. What this refusal produces is a specific texture of attention. With no marker and no map, the player cannot distinguish a significant location from an empty one in advance. Every space must be crossed to be evaluated, and most contain nothing. Long traversal, sparse event. That ratio is the actual experience of playing Yume Nikki, and it is the thing least conveyed by screenshots. Kikiyama's site says there is no story or purpose. The interview says the game was not considered finished. Both statements are worth holding at once. The emptiness is stated design, and the boundary of the work was never declared closed. This section is the reason a canon-only account of Yume Nikki is worth writing at all. 3 characters have names with any official basis, and each rests on a different kind of evidence. Madotsuki's appears in-game, in the menu. Monoko and Mono are named only in the game's files. Their assets are picture, character name, .xyz. File names visible to someone who extracts the game, never to someone who plays it. Every other circulating name was given by players when the game spread across 2chan and 4chan. That includes the most famous ones. The entity summoned by a light switch, The girl whose room it appears in, the figures that chase, Ubo, Poniko, Turininyan, all fan coinages. So are the English effect names, which derive from the unofficial fan translation, even Nexus, the universal term for the hub of doors. Appears nowhere in the game. The in-game instructions calls it only a room of doors. Then, something stranger happened. The fan names flowed back into the official record. The official soundtrack releases carry title tracks such as Poniko, UBOA, and Torniningen Party, the community's vocabulary adopted by the licensed products. And one further precision completes the picture. The album credits all music to Kikiyama, but the tracks were named by Saki, the album's director. Even the canonization of the fan names happened through a licensee's hand, not through the authors. There is no official layer of the game's nomenclature. Outside one menu entry and two file names that traces to Kikiyama. The result is a body of common knowledge about Yume Nikki that is almost entirely community authored, hardened by 2 decades of wiki repetition into apparent fact. A writer citing those names without qualification is citing the fandom, not the game. And the ending has exactly one ending, one canonical content that can be stated plainly. After collecting all 24 effects, the player must drop each one in the hub room, where every dropped effect becomes an egg. Once all are dropped and the room re-entered, the eggs settle into a consistent pattern. Madotsuki must then pinch herself awake, and on the real-world balcony, a set of stairs has appeared, leading over the railing. Using them, she climbs and, on a final input, goes over the side. The screen fades to black, a heavy echoing thud breaks the silence, a red pool fades into view, and 2 jellyfish from her dream world approach from different directions to surround it as the credits appear and the ending theme plays. Nothing narrated, nothing explained. The jellyfish are worth isolating because they are the one canonical detail interpretation that actually turns on. Elements of the dream appear in the waking world's final frames. That they appear is fact, what it means. That the ending is literal, that the waking world is itself another dream layer, that the whole game depicts something the imagery encodes is the interpretive field, and people have been debating who the girl is, why she is a shut-in, and what her landscapes mean. For more than a decade, none of it is confirmed. Kikiyama has never published a word about any of what it means. Yume Nikki generated an official franchise, and the franchise formally declined to define the game. Project Yume Nikki, the site handling official merchandise, stresses that the additional material does not reflect Kikiyama's original vision. The manga and the novel are seen as alternative interpretations of the story, as valid as the various fan theories. That sentence deserves its weight. A license holder demoting its own licensed canon to the status of fan theory. The manga and light novel, written by different authors, differ strongly from each other. For the 2018 Dream Diary reboot, Kikiyama's input was sought throughout. They looked through each build and are quoted as saying it is close to real life in how it's not explanatory. That fragment is the nearest thing to a statement of intent on record. Kikiyama had no requests when shown the plans, which the producer interpreted as meaning that just as fans are free to interpret Yume Nikki, so are the developers. Official announcements referred to Kikiyama with they pronouns, keeping their identity ambiguous. Whether one person or several remains unestablished. For 19 years, the record contained no interview. Kikiyama had no social media accounts, no way to be contacted, and had never spoken publicly. The only thing known about them was that they made Yume Nikki. From 2011 to 2018, they were unresponsive to all contact, and a circulating theory held they might have died, possibly in a 2011 earthquake. That theory is a fact about the fandom, not about Kikiyama, and it was wrong, disproven when Kikiyama resurfaced as Dream Diary's supervisor. Then, in Weekly Famitsu issue 1783, dated 1 February 2023, Toby Fox conducted the only interview Kikiyama has ever given. Fox imposed the restrictions himself. The questions could not be about the game's content. They could only be answered yes or no, and Kikiyama chose how many there would be. His stated reasoning, Kikiyama's reclusiveness has been in itself an aspect of the game. 10 questions. The answers establish that version 0.10a was not considered final, that Kikiyama enjoyed other free games on the site where Yume Nikki was hosted, that they had never made a traditional RPG, that they drew the game's creatures before the game existed and drew conventionally as a child, that they have played Osamu Sato's LSD Dream emulator, that they have not listened to Aphex Twin, that the game's popularity caused them no stress, that they still make art or music, and one final non-binary question about what they would order at Denny's. The document is precisely constructed, and the construction is the point. It proves the author exists. Fox closes that the important thing learned is that Kikiyama is probably still alive, while disclosing nothing that would close a single interpretation. The LSD answer shows the limits exactly. Have you ever played establishes contact with the form's one clear predecessor, but not when, and therefore not influence. 22 years after version 0.00. What Yume Nikki verifiably consists of can be stated exactly. One room. One name in the game. 2 more in its files. 24 effects. 1 ending. A website with a change log. And 3 sentences of description. 10 yes or no answers and a Denny's order. Everything else, every other name, every reading, every account of what happened to the girl in the room was written by other people. Its open-ended, combat-free exploration has been described as a precursor to walking simulators, and its style and horror elements inspired numerous indie titles. With the influence claims worth sorting carefully, Fox himself, in the same column, names Omori, Lisa, and Undertale as inheritors, which is a creator's own attribution. The longer lists are commentary. The fan games Yume-Tuki.flow are a separate lineage, communities building new dreams in the shape of the original. The mystery of Yume Nikki is usually located inside the game, what the imagery means, what happened to Madotsuki, but the game answers none of those questions and never promised to. The more precise mystery is documentary, a work with almost no authored text, accumulated one of the largest interpretive literatures in independent games. And its author, asked at last, after 19 years, agreed to confirm only that they exist, that they drew these things before there was a game to put them in, and that they are still making something unpublished now. The room remains closed, the names remain borrowed, the diary remains unread. The game supplies one certainty. The author is out there, still drawing, and withholds every other. Yume Nikki closes on an image many read as death. Its creator, Kikiyama, was once rumored to be deceased, and in 2023, after 19 years of silence, quietly confirmed they are alive and still making things. If the ending or anything in your own life sits heavy, you're not at the end of your story either. Support is out there, and reaching for it is a good move, not a weak one.